I'm just going to get a little bit of white as well. So I have, you can see that I'm starting a new painting today. This is going to be an oil painting, really simple composition. 3 roses and a vase. Yeah, so we're just going to start with this. Each of the roses is going to be a different color. So we're going to do kind of reds for this one, and blues and cyans for this one, and this one's going to be yellows. Hello, Portugal. Yeah, so basically the primary colors. Not obviously the true primaries. That would be a magenta, cyan, yellow. Anyway, yeah, 3 primary roses. We got 4 rosebuds up here, a vase on a table. Really simple composition. And so we're going to jump right into it. Going to go all the way over to the top left. Hey, how you doing, Bronx? And yeah, so we're going to start here. Now, so far, what I've done is I have gessoed my canvas with, this is actually a panel, you can see. This is a composite board. You can buy these at art stores, and they come pre-gessoed with this. This is a white gesso. It's a primer. So gesso stops the oil paint from soaking into the wood. It acts as a barrier. That's what it does. Yeah, doing well, Deku. And so what I've done is I've gessoed another layer of black gesso on top. And that's just because I find it much easier to paint on black than I do on white. I'm able to judge the value of the color much more easily with black gesso. So I gessoed it. After it dried, I then drew my picture with white colored pencil. And I can show you what that looks like. Really nice. Thank you for the roses, Mikas. Yeah, white colored pencil. This is a Prismacolor Premier. It's not quite white. It's 20% gray. That doesn't matter. You know, it can be 10% white or whatever. But I like the Prismacolor Premier because it doesn't smudge. And so it won't get soaked up into the paint. So yeah, I drew a grid. And so now we're ready to paint. Hey, how you doing, India? Thanks for watching. Okay, so yeah, first one, we're gonna go with the reds. So what have I chosen for my red? Well, I have 3. 3 reds plus black and white. Let me just find them so I can show you exactly which reds I'm using, just in case some of you might want to paint along later on. So I'm going with Gamblin oil paints for these ones. And Gamblin is an oil paint company out of Portland, Oregon in the United States. And they make 3 different cadmium reds. Cadmium is a metal. You can find it on the periodic table. It has to be mined out of the earth, so some people like to use synthetic, but anyway, cadmium. And cadmium medium is the standard. That's kind of the middle red. And then Gamblin also makes a darker version and a lighter version. This is heading toward orange, and this one is heading toward purples. So yeah, and obviously you can see that the value, you know, how gray it is, decreases as you go down. So I'm going to use those 3 plus white plus black. Not too much black though, because black is a cool color, and we want to stay away from cool colors as much as possible when dealing with reds, because red is a warm color, and when you mix red, warm and cool, it's not good. You decrease your chroma hugely. All right, so we're zoomed right in now, and we're going to get started. Up here, I'm using oil paint, and I'm going to mix the oil paint with just a little bit of linseed oil. I'm not going to use any solvent or turpentine or mineral spirits for this one. It's going to be just the paint and a little bit of linseed oil. And not worrying too much about the edges at this point. I will come back afterwards and paint the background. I'm just worried about getting coverage at this point. So, yeah, so we're gonna go all the way down, thinking about the shape of the rose as we maneuver around these petals. So I'd just like to take a moment to thank you all for joining me in this Friday night. This is one of the very few times where I've actually announced the time beforehand. I announced it this morning at about 10 o'clock. You know, it's usually jumping on live is something that I'll do every so often. I had a solo show. Well, actually, it's still on. It runs until February, but it's been running since December 6th. It's in Montreal, Canada, at Gallery Yoon. And leading up to that solo show, I painted live 4 or 5 times a week, as it turned out. So yeah, I really was doing a lot of painting on live. But now it's kind of reduced down to, well, I guess maybe once or twice a week, I'd say, something along those lines. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing some of, mostly the cadmium red medium and the cadmium red light at this point. Just kind of getting the values. And you'll notice that cadmium is really, really bright. It's a vibrant, what we call is chroma. Chroma is one of the dimensions of color. Very high chroma. How long have I been painting / drawing? 2 different answers for that. I've been painting professionally for about 6 years now. And you know, by professionally, I mean selling my work. And I happen to be in a fortunate position to be selling my work in galleries. I'm represented by 3 different galleries, and one in Montreal, Canada, one in the Gold Coast of Australia, and one in Western Canada. And then I also make photography, digital work, and I sell my digital work through a gallery in New York City. So about 6 years now for the painting, and then for drawing, I don't know. I've been painting or drawing most of my life, I would say, just you know, from when I was a kid, and I mostly started drawing comic books. Yeah, so I don't sell any of my drawings. I used to draw some commissions back when I had time to do commissions, but no, mostly not. So it's yeah, just paintings now. This painting that I'm making right now is bound for a charity auction. It's the Bank of Montreal, the BMO Bank. It's a large bank here in Canada. And indeed, I think they have branches outside of Canada as well. Anyway, the BMO Bank once a year puts on a charity auction in concert with the Kids Help Phone. And I was asked by the organizers of that event to donate a painting last year for charity and to raise money to help the Kids Help Phone. And that basically is a crisis line for children in crisis, whether it's mental or physical crisis, emotional crisis. They can phone 24 hours a day to the Kids Help Phone and receive support and therapy. So this is not a canvas, this is a panel. So I was asked to donate a painting last year's, and then they've asked me again this year. So that's what this painting is going to be. This is going to that charity auction in, I believe it's in April of this year. I have to have the final photograph by the end of February, so I have plenty of time. What am I painting on? Yeah, this is a wooden panel. This is it's 1 3/4 inches thick. And it's made with composite board. You can buy this at any art store. A panel this size, which is, I'll just back up a little bit and show you. A panel this size, which is 12 inches or 30 centimeters by 16 inches or 41 centimeters, will cost you about $10 Canadian, so about $7.50 US. But I'm in Canada, so everything's Canadian dollars for me. Yeah, but it is bright. It's this is cadmium red, so it's a really high vibrancy, high chroma, you would say, high chroma. So I'm just taking my time with these leaves. What's important is to distinguish the different leaves with different levels of, let's say, different value levels. So some are darker and some are lighter. Otherwise, they will all just kind of bleed in together because they're pretty much all the same hue. Hue just means color. They're all cadmium red. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white to that cadmium red light. Thank you so much. Very much. Doodles by Della from the UK. Nice. Thanks for joining in so late. Spending your Friday night here. I am originally from the UK. I come from the northeast of England. But as you can tell by my accent, I haven't lived there for many, many years. The bank should commission me. Yeah, well, it's Kids Help Phone that actually puts on the charity. The bank is actually sponsoring them, like, you know, paying their staff and doing all of the media, paying for the media and so on. So yeah, they certainly are donating their resources, if not time. But this is usually when artists donate pieces to charity, they have an option to receive part of the profits, sometimes 40% even. And but I have elected to donate 100% of the profits of my painting to the event. And last year, my painting raised 15% of the entire auction. So it was quite a successful event. Near Newcastle, yes, quite near Newcastle. Just outside of a city called Middlesbrough in North Yorkshire. A very small town. But I do have family from Newcastle. Actually, in my last solo show, hello, Kim, happy Friday. In my last solo show, I have a painting of a magpie sitting on a diamond. And that is in reference to the side of my family that's from Newcastle. The Newcastle, of course, are the magpies. All of the paintings in my current solo show, by the way, are available for sale as prints. So if you're interested in my art and you're not interested in an original painting, if you're interested in maybe a less expensive option, I do sell prints through my online store. And those are available. I have about 40 different prints available. You can just click the link in the bio and have a look. They start at about $25 Canadian. So that's something like 13 pounds or something for the British. And for Americans, that's 18, 19 bucks. Sheffield, yeah, I've heard of Sheffield. Oh, thank you so much for saying I have a nice voice. So I'm just kind of making my way around these petals, and we'll see where that lands me. Again, I'm just going with reds at this point. I'm just going with cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, and cadmium red deep. And I was kind of thinking about the light is not a very strong directional light. It's just kind of coming basically from the middle. And it's going to be a pretty even light. There's nothing special about the brushes I'm using. These are just, number 4. Oh, no, this is number 6. It's number 6 flat. These brushes are in that area of sort of 15 brushes for $20, that kind of thing. Do I sell any of my art on Redbubble? No, I sell my prints through my online store. And I have a back-end fulfillment company that deals with the shipping. I sell my paintings only through galleries, and that's Gallery Yoon in Montreal, Gallery 19 Karen Gallery in Australia, and Rouge Gallery in Western Canada. And then I sell my photography only through Treat Gallery in New York City. And then I sell NFTs as well through 3 different marketplaces: OpenSea, Maker's Place, and Foundation. But no, I don't sell any on... Do I always use grids? Yeah, I do. I like to compose my painting entirely in Photoshop, and then really work on the composition and the flow and the balance and everything. And get all of those details worked out so that it can be perfectly aligned. I would hate to do all this work here and then have everything be pushed over or too close. So I get everything worked out on the computer and then draw it exactly as I see it, as I want it. This is exactly an inch, the width of the table, and then it's exactly an inch below the table, etc. So I do all of that beforehand. That's part of the pretty meticulous about my planning process. And then when I come to this stage, I don't have to worry about proportions or composition or balance. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. All I have to concentrate on is my color choice and the paint application itself. So it's just really compartmentalizing my choice. I do all of my balance, composition, primary, secondary, contouring, all of those considerations that you would do when you're composing an image. I do all of that beforehand. And then that really frees up my mental space just to worry about the paint application itself. Being colorblind, I do have to constantly think about my color choice. I can't rely so much on intuition. My intuition regarding color is often wrong. I can't trust my eyes, as it were. Oh, thank you so much for the roses and for the popcorn. Very much appreciated. How do I do color choices? Yeah, usually I work within temperature. So, since these are reds, cadmium reds, I'm very comfortable increasing up to oranges and decreasing down to some warmer purples like violets, staying away obviously from the cooler purples. But I work very much within analogous color palettes and temperature specifically. And then just an intense study of color theory in terms of what complementary colors go with what color, different kinds of color wheels. Actually, I just put out a video on YouTube talking about hue, and I talk about different color wheels that I've dealt with, and then ultimately the one color wheel that I use, which has what I like to think about as 12 primary colors. It doesn't make much sense when I say it like that, but if you watch the YouTube video, I think it would probably make a little bit more sense. I kind of treat all of the colors in the color wheel as primaries is basically what's happening. So that way I have sort of 12 touchstones all the way around the color wheel, and then the only mixing I do are between those two. So if I can here, I'll just show I have all of these different color charts These are my 12 primaries. So lime, that's yellow, that's orange, this is red, this is rose, and magenta, and this is violet, and indigo, and blue, and aqua, and cyan, and green, and lime. So that's how it goes. And so I've kind of developed that system, and so I know what things, how things relate to each other from all this study. Can I put on some relaxing sleep music? No, I don't want to distract. If I have music on, my mind gets distracted, and it's already hard enough for me to read and answer comments while I'm speaking and while I'm painting. So if I added one more level of stimulus, like music, even if it was relaxing music, I would find myself much too distracted to conduct any coherent level of conversation. And I'm really here for two purposes, and the first is to paint, but my second purpose is to talk about the art world and to help new artists learn about color and painting and so on. So yeah, that's just there's a level of distraction there that I can't risk, unfortunately. But you are certainly welcome to put music on your side, if that's something that you're interested in. Have I tried the color glasses? I haven't tried them, and I won't try them. So the idea for people that don't know, there are corrective lenses now. I think it's Encarta is the company. They've created a product wherein once they become aware of your level, your kind of color blindness and the severity of it, and they become aware. You have to take a test, I believe it's on their website. Then they can tailor make a pair of corrective lenses that will allow you to see colors as everyone else sees and experiences them. My great fear with trying those kinds of glasses is that once I put them on, I would not be able to take them off. I would forever be bound to those glasses. I'd be addicted to them because I would have glimpsed what these colors are beautiful to me as is. So I have no idea how beautiful they actually are. There's no way I'd be able to take them off if I ever tried them on, if I ever put them on. So I can't do that. I can't wear those glasses forever. Is it hard to reproduce color wheels accurately in printing, video versus real life or in person? Well, I don't really. I don't try to do any color matching when I make color wheels. It's more that I get to look at the labels of my paint and match and then create the color wheels that way. So I know what colors are going in, and I also know what I should be expecting. So yeah, it's not. It's not terribly difficult. But then again, I don't know if I get it right. I get it right for me, and I guess that's all that really matters, because I'm the only person that's referencing them. If I were to try to do a color wheel for somebody else, then I'd certainly have to have it double checked. I'll just say it that way. Can I draw a realistic car? Like, am I able to, or will I? Yeah, I can. And historically, I have drawn vehicles before, but will I? No, I think this painting's pretty much set at still life. So I'm just gonna keep carrying on with this roses and vase theme here. See it developing already? Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's so I'm only using the 3 reds. So yeah, I'll just show them again for those of you joining now. This is an oil painting. It's 12 by 16 inches or 30 by 41 centimeters. That will be donated to charity. It's going to the Bank of Montreal, the BMO Kids Help Phone charity auction in April. This is going to be auctioned off. Painting this size from me is usually about $2,600 American, so about $3,000 Canadian, so it'll be auctioned off for, it'll probably go around that. These are the 3 colors I've used so far: cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, and cadmium red deep. These are all Gamblin, which is a professional grade artist color. It's not the best oil paint in the world, but it is excellent, and it is professional grade. So really enjoy Gamblin, and probably one of the least expensive professional grade oil paints you can get as well. Really good company. And if you watch my YouTube video on my recommendations for oil paint, you will see that I do recommend Gamblin as my best bang for your buck paint. Ultimately, if you were getting paint for free, if somebody was giving you paint, I would say get Michael Harding. But it's one of the most expensive paints. So Gamblin is a great second choice. If you are on an unlimited budget, yeah, Michael Harding or Old Holland should be your choices, just because they don't have any fillers. A lot of oil paint companies put fillers in their paint, and Michael Harding and Old Holland do not contain any fillers whatsoever. The only accurate colors are pure paint pigments. Yes and no. You could see there are accurate colors that aren't directly from the tube. There are some colors that you can't buy from the tube. You can't get them at all, right? So you can make them, but they're not pure in any sense. You'd have to mix them. But the highest chroma, chroma is a measure of a hue's vibrancy. The highest chroma paints are right from the tube, mostly, but not all paints right from the tube have high chroma. Like yellow ochre, for example, burnt sienna, for example, they are right from the tube, and they're certainly not high chroma. But yeah, cadmium red from the tube that's as high a chroma as it's going to get. As soon as you mix anything with it, it flattens out. Yeah, I'm going to paint the background for sure. Yeah, I tend to wait until the very end before I paint the background. And there's no particular reason for that other than I get excited and I want to start on the good parts. what brand of paint do I use? Well, this paint is Gamblin, but generally speaking, I use Michael Harding. And Old Holland. I'd say Michael Harding and Old Holland, maybe 90%, and the other 10% probably Gamblin. Every now and then I'll use Williamsburg, because they do have some colors that are not offered anywhere else, like their cobalt turquoise, for example. They split it up into a green shade and a blue shade. And as far as no other paint company has those different shades. So yeah, I'll use that. I have a couple of other tubes here and there. Kama Pigments out of Montreal makes a good paint, and so I have some of their product as well. But I would say mostly it's Michael Harding. You've always been intimidated by oil, but you want to give it a try. Yeah, I would say give oil a try if you find that in your acrylic practice, you like to blend things, or if you find that you're always rushing to use your paint. That's kind of the big thing. The big difference with oil and acrylic is the time factor. It's oil, you just have so much more time to do whatever it is that you want to do. Thank you so much. You do watercolor paintings? I haven't. I've only done a handful of watercolor paintings, and I did enough to know that it's very, very difficult. And with oil paint, all you really need is excellent paint. You can get away with using inexpensive brushes, and you can get away with using an inexpensive support. But with watercolor, you need very high quality brushes and paint and support. The support is paper, obviously. But if any of them is lacking, then you're in real trouble. The paint doesn't do what you want it to do. But yeah, I have done one. Let me see. I might just have it here. I sound so calm, inner channeling, Bob Ross, haha. Yeah, hopefully. Something like that. Yeah, let me just grab my watercolor painting. So this is the first and only watercolor painting that I've done. So I was kind of messing around with, experimenting with different textures, and yeah, really difficult, I would say. But that's how that turned out. A tulip. So the paint is the paper is good paper, and my brushes were good watercolor brushes, but but the paint itself wasn't anything special. I was using these little Pentel. They're probably about 15 years old. But yeah, if I invest in some Daniel Smith, something along those lines, I think I'd really like to explore watercolor at some point. But it just seems my schedule rarely allows for new exploration. It's more just kind of staying afloat at this point. with current projects and so on. Oh, thanks so much. You've always had a hard time doing flowers. Any advice? Well, there's no one way to do flowers. You know, I'm painting my flowers very carefully with small brushes, and I'm trying to be meticulous about the detail. But there are as many ways of painting flowers as there are artists. Just when you look at flowers through history, when you look at the Flemish masters in the 1600s and the 1700s, Jan van Huysen and Rachel Roush, and they were focused on cataloging nature, so they're immaculate renderings. But then you can go all the way up to let's say the post-impressionists with Van Gogh, and his flowers are gorgeous, and they're not realistic whatsoever, just focusing on color and expression, and there's no one way to do it. So I would say if you don't know what kind of style you like to paint in, just try different styles. Get some small brushes, get some big brushes. Try really tight painting. Try to do something realistically. Try to do something really loose, kind of not abstract, but abstracted. And you'll quickly find out what style you like, where your tendencies are. I draw the lines myself. The canvas comes, it's just white. And so I gesso it with black gesso. Gesso is a primer, which means it's a barrier between the oil and the wood. So I gesso with black gesso, and once that dries, I use a white or a gray pencil, and I draw this 1-inch grid so that I can reproduce my image accurately. And then, and then I just paint over it. And that way I'm able to control for my composition. I work really hard when I'm composing it, the painting, to try to make sure that it's going to be a balanced painting. So because I'm painting in this style, there's not really room to change things afterwards. I can't make adjustments after the fact. I can't move a flower over 1/2 inch, like you could if you were doing something a little looser, a different style, like like that style. So what kind of medium do I use? Sometimes I just use a little bit of linseed oil, but sometimes nothing. But I don't use any other solvents. The only time I would use a solvent like terpenoid or odorless mineral spirit, something like that. I never ever use turpentine. There's just no need. But yeah, if I use terpenoid or odorless mineral spirit, that would only be if I was specifically doing glazing. And I rarely do that anymore. So if I'm doing a very intense long-term commission, then yeah, I would do a lot of glazing, and then it would take a while. But I would use probably terpenoid for terpenoids with that. It's gonna go all the way down the side here with this lighter one. But that's the only medium I use. So a little bit of linseed oil. And even then I don't use much. You've seen so many times, you honestly didn't know that. Okay, cool. Precision painting there, brother. Thank you very much. What color am I using? I'm using 3 different colors of red here. I'll just show you the paints. So I'm using black and white, very, very little black because of the, because black's a cool color and these are, I want to keep it nice and warm. But I'm using these 3 reds: cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, and cadmium red deep. So these 3 reds plus white and black. Yeah. So how do I lighten? Well, I'm just using, these are, the cadmium red light has a lighter value than the medium, and the medium has a lighter value than the deep. But they don't just, there's not just a shift in value for these hues, there's also a shift in chroma. So, oh, sorry, not a shift in chroma. The chroma is quite high in all of them. There's a shift in hue. So this one is moving toward orange, and this one's here is moving toward purples or violets. So yeah. In fact, I'll show you, so if you're interested in creating an analogous color palette, this is a really interesting thing you can do. You can start with these 3 reds that I'm doing here. I'll just back up a little bit. So these 3 reds: cadmium red deep, cadmium red medium, and cadmium red light. And then the distance between that one and that is exactly the same as the distance between that one and this one. Cadmium orange deep, and then you can go right into cadmium orange. So here you have 5 steps, and they're all the same distance on the color wheel, going from cadmium orange deep, cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, cadmium red deep. So you have a perfect analogous color palette there, with the cadmium orange being very, very light and the cadmium red deep being very dark. So now you have a really nice value shift from light to dark. So you have a hue shift for an analogous color palette and also a value shift. The chroma is exceptionally high in all 5 because they are cadmium. So, but I'm not using either of these just for the moment. I'm going to stick to the reds. If all of those terms are slightly confusing, I will point you to my YouTube channel. I go over color basics. I talk about hue and value and chroma. A lot of color theory in there. Also, I talk about different brushes and different oil paints and so on. If you are interested at all in starting to paint with oil, please do check out my YouTube channel. Okay, let's jump right back into this. Let me see. Have I heard of Stanislaw Beksinski? No, I haven't. I don't know him. Lednetto, thank you. If that's a compliment, thank you. Love your manga style drawings. Do I have education in art or self-taught? I have education in my painting. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. It's a university. It's not an art college, so just like a regular art program. But my drawing is self-taught. I basically obsessively drew comic books when I was a kid. So. What's my YouTube? All my social media is Mark Liam Smith. So that's my, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Everything is Mark Liam Smith. All of the links are in my bio. And there's a link tree in my bio. You can click through that, and I also have some prints for sale and so on. Live is actually worth my time. Thank you very much. I appreciate you spending Friday night, or at least part of it here. So just so for those of you just joining, I'll just kind of lay out my plan again. We're gonna go with the red rose here. We're gonna go with the yellow down here, and then this one we're gonna go blues, kind of cyans. There we have the 4 buds, and then this is gonna be basically a white porcelain with some navy accents. So it's Delft from the Flanders, I guess, area. From Connecticut. Hey, thanks so much. Oh, thanks for the sub, Amanda. Appreciate that. This painting is 12 inches by 16 inches. That's for non-Canadians and Americans. That's 30 centimeters by 41 centimeters. And this painting is going to be put into a charity auction in April by, it's being held by the Bank of Montreal and the Kids Help Phone. So it's going to be auctioned off, and 100% of the profits are going to Kids Help Phone, which is a wonderful organization that tries to help kids in crisis by giving them a 24-hour phone line. They can phone and receive treatment, therapy, emotional support, and so on. So I donated a painting to that auction last year, and they've asked me to donate another painting, so I'm very happy to do that. So that's where this one's destined to go. If you are interested in my paintings, I have a solo show on right now in Montreal, in Canada. You can have a look at the PDF by contacting Gallery Youn, that's Y-O-U-N, and they can give you a list of the available works that are still there. The show ends on February 19th. It started on December 5th, so I got the gallery for quite a while. And then I also have a show coming up in New York in March, at the end of March, and that is for my photography / digital imagery, and that's with a New York gallery called Treat. That's through the Affordable Art Fair. And that's kind of all I have going on right now. Oh, I have a show in Australia as well. But that's just like a part of a group show. So I just have 3 little paintings in that one. And that's at 19 Karen Contemporary Art Space. Thank you, by the way, for everyone who is tapping the screen. I have, 5,500 likes already, so that's very much appreciated for those of you who are tapping the screen and also sharing, inviting people in. Thank you very much. And of course, thank you for those gifts. If you are interested in learning how to paint yourself, I have obviously my TikTok account here, but it's mostly limited to drawing tutorials. But if you're interested in painting, please do check out my YouTube channel. I have more in-depth and longer painting, longer lessons, not just the short 1-minute TikToks for drawing here. Dutch, yes, yeah. What did I say? Flemish? That's I guess. In the same area. Flemish is technically Belgian, I suppose. So thank you for that correction. I am going to add a little bit of black. Thank you for those TikToks, Beauty in the Raw. Most appreciated. I am going to add a little bit of black. I don't like adding black, but because it is cooler. But I could add. I do have magenta on my palette, which is also quite dark right out of the tube. The issue here is that it's transparent. It's one thing you always have to pay attention to when you are choosing and mixing your colors. It's not just the color itself, not just the hue, but also the transparency. I don't think a lot of people pay attention to the different transparencies. So it's something to keep an eye on anyway. So because all of these cadmium reds are so close on the color wheel, they do blend together quite effectively. So at a certain point, I'm going to start using my smaller brush, but I'm going to try to stay with this larger brush for as long as I can, just to get some more coverage. What type of paint am I using? I'm using oil paint, and specifically I'm using Gamblin oils. Do I wear colorblind glasses? No, I don't. I don't. I refuse to wear those kinds of glasses, just for fear of never ever being able to take them off. I've had an offer. I had an offer from. Well, I won't say who from to embarrass them, but yeah, I had an offer to receive those as a gift, but I didn't want them because if I put them on once and I see what I'm missing, I'll never be able to take them off, and then now I'm just the guy who always wears sunglasses, Corey Hart style. So 80s reference, check. Is this a hobby or also a living? Yeah, this is my job. Yeah, it's a living. I'm represented by 3 different galleries for my oil paintings, and 1 other gallery for my photography, and I also sell prints through my online store, and I also sell NFTs. So yeah, this is it. This is the job. I've been a professional artist now for about 6 years. Am I on YouTube? Yes, same username, Mark Liam Smith, for all my social media. It's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Mark Liam Smith for everything. Learned so much from watching your live streams. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. some lines here. The depths of colors are pretty amazing. It's very, very inspiring. Thanks for answering. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking questions. Thanks for your video. You're welcome. Can you use acrylic painting for customizing sneakers? You can use acrylic to customize your sneakers, but then you don't wear them. Just put the sneakers on a shelf. If you want to customize your sneakers and then go outside with them, then don't use acrylic paint. What you want to use is leather paint. And there are some different leather paint. I can't remember the name. There's basically one brand that kind of rules that whole industry. I can't remember what it's called. There's an artist named Ten Hun that paints a lot of things on leather. There's a certain brand that they sponsor him. It's like Apollo or something starts swinging. I don't know. That's a cool thing, NFT. Oh yeah, it's relatively new. NFTs. They're certainly going to be something that you're going to see all artists playing with in a few years' time. There's still a few problems to work out with the technology. It's still quite expensive to create them, but once they get those kinds of issues solved, it's really going to be quite a thing. You're going to see a mass adoption of NFTs in the same way we saw mass adoption of smartphones. It's just the way things are going to be. Have I ever sold my stuff to a company that made the painting into a puzzle? No, I haven't done that. Excuse your English, you're French. Thank you for your answer. Oh, you're welcome. You can ask your question in French if you want. I can read French reasonably well. I probably won't answer in French because my accent's terrible and I don't conjugate verbs very well, but I probably know enough French to be able to just read your question and then answer in English. NFTs, Bitcoin in 2010. Yeah, I think it's more like the internet in 1995. Since when do you paint? I've been a professional now for 6 years. C'est juste NFT Serra. You like the bird on the diamond on your website? Oh, thanks. Yeah, that painting, the original, just sold from my solo show that's on. But yeah, that print is available. I think that print's $25. Thanks for checking it out, by the way. Appreciate that very much. how much the price difference. So that painting is 8 inches by 10 inches, and I think it was $1,500 Canadian. So in US, that's like 1,200 US. This size is 12 inches by 16 inches, and that's 2,700, something like that. And then the biggest one is just north of 8,000. So that's why it's important for me to have a more accessible alternative. And that's why I do the prints. So if you like my art, you can have it on your walls. Like, it might not be an original, but you can have it. It's available, you know. That's important. Do I plan what I'm going to paint, or is it about how I feel? No, I plan everything. That's what I do. I plan things. Yeah, I basically make the painting on the computer before I paint it. I make it in Photoshop, and then I have everything planned out, everything balanced perfectly, you know. And then I draw the grid. And so when I draw it out, it's exactly even everywhere, perfectly balanced. Yeah, there's very, very little improvisation at this level. Everything's planned beforehand, so that when I come to this stage, it's just me worrying about color. I don't have to worry about anything else. Have I heard of Simon Stalaha? I bought a boatload of his prints. No, I haven't heard of. Sorry. Hoot are from Philippines. Oh, good morning. It must be 7 in the morning or something there. So, good morning, Philippines. Yeah, you have a great weekend too. Coming along nicely. It's a pretty reddish orange. Thanks very much. Yeah, the cadmium red light is very much right between red and orange. You know, I showed you that scale. I don't know if you were here or not, but I showed a scale where the cadmium red light was situated basically exactly between cad red and cad orange. So yeah, I can show you again. It's really, if you like painting with analogous color palettes, like I do, I paint very much within temperature zones. So I stay a lot within a certain color palette. So when you look at these 5 colors: cadmium red deep, cadmium red medium, cadmium red light, cadmium orange deep, and cadmium orange, you get this amazing analogous color palette ranging from cadmium orange, which is quite a light value, all the way through to cadmium red deep, which is a darker value. So and then the chroma is very high, obviously, because they're all cadmiums. Cadmium is a metal that has to be mined out of the ground. That's why it makes them a little more pricey, but yeah, a really good option. So this cadmium red light, this is the color that you're seeing on these really light areas here. Can you do this concept with other objects? Yeah, have a look at my paintings. All of the biggest painting that I did for my solo show, I have, like, you name it. I have diamonds, I have ceramic, I have glass, I have books, leather, I have honeycomb, I have birds. Like you think of a texture, I have that. I have oysters, shells. I just name it. I have all kinds of textures, and I do the same technique for those. So yeah, you can certainly find that technique anywhere, everywhere. 10K likes. Yeah, 10.9K. Thanks. Why did you choose roses for this project? Yeah, so this project, this painting here is going to be on auction. It's going to the Bank of Montreal, BMO, Kids Help Phone auction in April. And so it's a charity auction to help kids in need and kids in crisis. It's a 24-hour phone hotline called Kids Help Phone. So I chose roses because, we see these roses as they're fully bloomed, and they're colorful and amazing and beautiful and fragrant. But that's a fully grown rose. It's had a chance to develop in a healthy environment. Whereas the buds, so I have 4 buds here, that for me is representing the child, right? And there's every possibility that those buds can become these incredible contributing objects. That's a possibility, but we don't know. The buds have to be nourished and given a safe environment, you could say. So that's why I went with the roses. It's an analogy because this painting is going to Kids Help Phone. What I'm trying to say obviously is, we take care of the buds and they're going to become roses. So yeah, but that's what I'm thinking of when I'm making this, but that doesn't need to be part of whoever ends up collecting this work. It doesn't need to be part of that for that person. It can just be, maybe they just liked roses, or maybe there's a special meaning about roses for them in their life that has nothing to do with Kids Help Phone or anything like that. This reminds me of ASMR. Oh, thank you. That's a very generous and kind thing to say. So that is appreciated. So I'm going to go all the way up here with this lighter one. And then kind of sweep around. I like painting roses. Roses aren't my favorite flower to paint, though. My favorite flower to paint is the tulip. And in particular, the Semper Augustus tulip. Just incredibly beautiful flower to paint, but also has such an amazing history in, not just in art history, but in world history, in world affairs. The Semper Augustus tulip was responsible for the world's first speculative market and bubble market in 1636 in Amsterdam. There was such a craze for the Semper Augustus tulip that it caused speculation on the next year's crop. And in February of that year, of 1636, there was a market crash. I guess it crashed in May, but in February the price of tulips rose so dramatically that a single bulb was worth more than an average skilled laborer's salary for an entire year. That's how expensive they became. J'adore le shop. Oh, thank you so much. C'est magnifique. Thank you. I appreciate that. Nice work you're doing. Thank you. How would a paint or an art of yours would take? How long would it take? Well, this size usually takes me between 1 and 3 weeks, depending on how many objects are in the painting and just how complicated it is, how many small things. Sometimes I have ants and little insects and things crawling, and they have shadows, and I can really get obsessed with the piece. So yeah, 1 to 3 weeks for a piece like this. Is that canvas? No, this is a panel. Anytime I do a smaller painting, I paint on panel. It's just smoother, which when I'm dealing with details, it's easier. What's my favorite color? Probably my favorite color for painting is a color called dioxazine purple. And the reason I like that one so much is that it's nearly black right out of the tube. But when you add white to it, so when you tint it, every version of it, all the way down, the more white you add, is gorgeous. It's just such an amazing color. It glows. That's the best way to say it. It just glows. My self-portrait in my profile picture there, that's, except for that green stripe across the eyes, the whole thing is dioxazine purple and white. There's 2 colors. And you can, because it's so dark right out of the tube, you can get a full tonal range with dioxazine purple. And you can do that with a lot of colors. Sap green, you can get a really nice tonal range. Working on a painting 3 peonies in a Delft vase. Nice. Yeah, this is going to be a Delft vase too. Or vase. A vase or a vase. I may have to come back over here and redo this with a smaller brush. I'm just trying to catch these little moments where the light just might reflect. Just little bits of white. When did you learn how to do art? Well, I did a painting degree at the University of Saskatchewan. And then before that, I've just always drawn. Drawing has been a passion / obsession for a very long time, since I was a child. Your art is beautiful, thank you. It's very kind to say. So I'm making some progress on this one. Thank you for the roses. Explains one of the reasons how amazing, fragile, and complicated it is. Thank you. How am I today? I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? So, thank you for joining me. Friday night painting session. So I think I'm just going to darken some of these shadows, especially kind of in this inside here. Probably makes more sense that way. You know, you don't need a small brush to do small lines. You just need a, you know, often a brush like this, you know, this is a number 6. So this is not even a flat brush. A flat brush would be a brush that's flat across the top. This is a kind of a hybrid brush. This is called a filbert. And a filbert brush is a mixture between the flat and the round. So, you know, it looks like a round brush from this angle, but you turn it and it's quite flat. And you can see how thin that line is. So that very much looks like a, you know, 0 numbers. Oops, I just lost my zoom. It looks like a 0 round brush. Like, let me see. You know, like this. It looks like that. It looks even smaller than that one, right? But this one's a round. This one you can turn it so you have the broad as well. That's why the filbert is one of the most versatile brushes. If you are interested at all in brushes, I have a full YouTube tutorial on explaining all the different kinds of brushes and which ones are very versatile like this and which ones are used for very specific purposes and why. Always get into the why so you know, you know, it's not just enough to teach what, you have to teach the why as well. And then that way you can carry that knowledge and teach yourself at some point. So just going to keep carrying on these darker moments. Just maybe blend that in a little bit more. Multi-flow, you're beginning drawing. Any tips on how to get better? Yes, please do look at my very last TikTok video, the one I just did, I posted yesterday. And in that, I talk about practice and that there are 2 components of practice, not just one. People, when you're looking for advice, when you're first starting out drawing and you look for advice and you ask professional artists or, you know, maybe teachers or some, you know, people that are maybe more advanced in their journey, they'll always say, practice, you need more practice, just practice, practice, practice. They just say practice. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'm drawing all the time anyway, so I guess I can't do anything more than that. But my last YouTube video, or my last TikTok video, I talk about this and I say, listen, there's more to practice than just creating the thing. There's a second component to practice, and that's reflection. Once you create the thing, you then have to look at that thing and you say, okay, what worked? What was I going for and what worked? What did I not have any trouble with? What didn't work? That's important because that tells you what you need to improve on, but also it might tell you what you don't like. When you are trying to figure out what your style is, you need to figure out what you do like, but also what you don't like. Both are really important to determining your style and your preferences. So all of that, when you practice, you have to then look at your piece and say what worked, what didn't work, what do I want to keep for the next piece, what do I want to discard for the next piece, where can I improve, and you just kind of do a post-mortem, I guess you would call it. You do a post-game analysis on your art piece. No, that's not a good strategy. You just doodle, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. Is that a good strategy? No, it's not a good strategy to improve. It's a good strategy if you just want to make stuff. But if your goal is to improve, then just doodling, just creating the thing isn't enough. You also need the second component, the component of reflection, of analysis. Because if you're just making and you're not thinking about where you want to go after the fact, then it's going to be much harder to improve because you're just leaving it up to chance. But if you say, hey, my detail lines are work, but my color needs a lot of improvement. Okay, now you have a goal. Improve your color theory. So then you can go watch some YouTube videos on color theory and you can kind of set a game plan. It's like creating your own curriculum, with the goal. You're the teacher and you're the student. Have I thought about getting into... Oh, sorry, I'm just going to back up. I missed a few questions. Okay, awesome. Thanks. Multi-flow. Kate, what makes you know when to stop and not overwork a piece? Yeah, that's certainly something that I always grappled with earlier on, I would say. Not so much now. I think I'm kind of at a point where I've done enough paintings in this style that I know kind of where I'm at with the painting, and I can approximate how much longer it has. But yeah, it is something. Until you kind of settle on one style, you're thinking about your style and how your style is developing almost in real time. So yeah, that can be an issue. Ever thought about getting into tattooing? I have created tattoos. I've designed tattoos for a number of people, but I haven't ever tried tattooing. I'd like to do it, but the issue is that I don't have any tattoos myself, and I don't think anybody would trust a person who is trying to learn how to tattoo if that person didn't have any tattoos. There's sort of a culture of the people who work in tattoo shops. You never see somebody working in a tattoo shop that's not also tattooed. So, but I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time in tattoo shops, so there have to be some tattoo shops that have artists who aren't tattooed themselves. I have nothing against tattoos. I just never really found anything that I found appealing enough to have on my body forever. But I've made a few tattoos. My older brother is probably more tattooed than not. and I've designed a number of his tattoos. Am I using oil paint? Yes. Yeah, I am. This is Gamblin oil paint. Just gonna darken this area here to try to fold the leaf down a bit. Yeah, that would be a good video with a tattoo gun. That would be wild. It's hard enough to draw just on paper. And then I don't know how those guys do it. It's just, they're incredibly talented. You know, you're drawing and your paper's basically moving all the time and bleeding. That would be, talk about an obstacle. I don't think tattoo artists get enough credit. They're very, very talented. Good ones anyway. Have I ever stopped wanting to be an artist? No, not since I started. I've only been an artist for 6 years, so I come from. I had a suit and tie job, and so I come from. Even though I did a painting degree a long time ago, I never did painting. I didn't have the. I don't know how I want to say it. I made the decision that I was going to do other things for reasons other than what my heart wanted. So I even though I kind of always wanted to be an artist, I chose not to be one for the longest time. And then, I had a suit and tie job. So once I gave that up and chose art and decided to be an artist, no, I've never, ever stopped wanting to continue being an artist. Is your outline made out of chalk? No, it's I use a Prismacolor Premier. This is a colored pencil. There you go, Prismacolor Premier. So this is a color pencil that does not leave any powder and doesn't smudge. So I gesso the canvas with with black gesso, and then I draw out my outline from. Well, I create the whole image on Photoshop first, and then I draw it out. This piece is going to the Bank of Montreal Kids Help Phone charity auction in April. So if you like this piece and you want to buy the original, you have to buy it on auction. It's the Kids Help Phone. It's a Canadian crisis line. I don't know if they're in the States as well. Kids Help, maybe Kids Helpline, but this is Kids Help Phone. It's a Canadian 24-hour hotline for children in need, whether they're being abused or maybe they feel they're having a mental health crisis of any kind. They can phone there and they can get counseling 24 hours a day, or just somebody to listen. It's a really worthy cause. So I'm donating this piece. This will be the second year in a row that I'm participating in the Kids Help Phone, Bank of Montreal Kids Help Phone. Just popping. Oh, thanks very much. Appreciate that. Your educational content's invaluable. Thank you. Yeah, if you are happy to go over to YouTube and sub my YouTube channel, I'm certainly looking to try to grow that a little bit. So um, my TikTok is mostly drawing, quick 1 minute drawing tutorials, but my YouTube is mostly painting. So if you're happy to go there, I certainly would be grateful for that. It's my YouTube channel is Mark Liam Smith, same as my TikTok name. Makes you want to sleep, but you want to see you finish this. Yeah, thanks. It's kind of caught in the middle. Yeah. So, and also thank you for those of you who are buying my prints. I do appreciate your support. My prints are available through my online store. There's a link in my bio, and they start at $25. So, I'm trying to keep them accessible. And I have over 40 of my paintings available in print form. And if physical objects aren't really your thing, I also have some NFTs available. You can check out also my username Mark Liam Smith. You can check out my NFTs on OpenSea or Foundation or Maker's Place. Lots of different platforms right now. What's up, bro? How you doing? Gotta go bye. Thanks for staying. Have a good sleep. Kids Help Phone helped you and your sister a lot. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I'm a new father myself, so I have a 3-year-old. So I thought, yeah, that's definitely a worthy charity for Kids Help Phone. So that's great to hear that there's somebody here that's used their services and found them helpful. So yeah, my painting last year raised 15% of the whole of all of the proceeds was from my 15% was my painting. So hopefully they get a good result this year from this painting. Is this oil? Yes. Yeah, it's oil painting. Do I color my reference image? No, I use a reference image to draw the image out, but then the colors I choose myself. Yeah. I don't use the reference for my colors. I just color it myself. I choose my own colors. So I'm going to go with red, yellow, and blue. I'm going to go with all primaries for this. You're so good. Oh, thank you. Gonna blend these in a moment. I'm just kind of thinking about where a lot of the light would be hitting for consistency. Just kind of building that up. Yeah, so we're about an hour and 40 minutes into it at this point. So maybe a little bit over halfway through this live. I'm planning on painting till 9 if all things work out. So hopefully we'll be able to get started on the next rows. Thank you so much for the finger heart. Hope you're having a good Friday night. For those of you just joining, this is an oil painting. I'm painting on 12 by 16 inch panel board, which is a wooden composite board you can buy at art stores. I've gessoed it with black gesso. Gesso is a primer. That's something that acts as a barrier between the oil and the canvas and the board so that the oil doesn't soak in. The reason why I go with the black gesso is that I find it much easier to judge the value of the colors. So value is how light or how dark a color is. Much easier to judge the value on black gesso. When you paint on white, it's much harder to judge value. That's why in the classic paintings, what they would do is cover the whole painting with a mid-tone, like a burnt sienna or a raw umber, or in the case of Rembrandt, he even used a green. He used a sap green for his underpaintings. So, but that's just to take the white away, and then you can more accurately judge your value. Yeah, that's kind of our Friday routine. Oh, thank you. Yeah, he likes to stand in front of the camera and say hello and then read the comments. This is an oil painting. Yeah, this is an oil painting. It's on panel board, and the size is 12 inches by 16 inches. And this one is going to the Kids Help Phone. Bank of Montreal Kids Help Phone charity auction. It's going to be held in, I don't know this year, it's either going to be Toronto or Montreal. It was in Montreal last year, but it's in May. So they'll have, I don't know if I'm going to be the featured artist this year. I was one of the featured artists last year, but I don't know what the situation is this year. I haven't done any press yet. But anyway, it's a worthy cause. They certainly raised a lot of money to help kids in need. Thank you for your amazing content, inspiration you provide. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that. It's always nice to receive feedback like that. I'm using a photo for reference, and if so, maybe we see. Yeah, I use a photo to draw it out, but I color it without reference. So I have a Photoshop file that I like to close, because then I'd be too tempted to look at it and then it just becomes a copy. But if I draw it out, then I know that I'm getting my composition right, because I make it. It's meticulously kind of constructed. But if I put the file away, and then I can color it myself, and then that way I'm going to get consistency across different paintings, because it's me. It's all of the decisions about the coloring are decisions that I make, not some photo editor kind of thing. So, but if I get really, really stuck, then yes, I do have that material to reference. So, but I try very much not to use it. So I'm just adding some highlights. Obviously, you can see that kind of break up the space a little bit. Now I'm only used 3 colors so far. What's a featured artist? Oh, it just means that, like, on their press release and things like that, there'll be 2 or 3 of the artists that have maybe a more robust exhibition history. They're the ones that would go on the on the pamphlets, on the media, like the media blast for promotional material and things like that. So, but there's no added feature like for me. I donate 100% of the proceeds, so there's no financial gain. It's completely charitable act. Actually, a negative gain for me, because I spend time making it, but obviously worth it when it's a charity like that, and children are being helped, children in crisis. That's just it's a sad situation. It's something that is preventable. It really should be. So I think I'm kind of in a position where I might want to start thinking about one of these other roses now. I don't want to tinker too much on this one for fear of overworking. So I think I'm going to go for that. Lots of positive vibes to share. Yeah, thanks for joining. Happy Friday night. Or Saturday morning, indeed. Okay, let me just kind of leave it there for that rose. I'm going to come over here, I think, and work on this blue one. Well, it's going to be blues and maybe blues into cyans. Not quite green, but yeah, maybe cyans, aquas, turquoises, that sort of thing. How light your red color should be on a black canvas to look so red? So these are the 3 paints. I just used 3 colors for that, right? So I used cadmium red light, and you can see that it's not really red. It's right between red and orange. And then cadmium red medium, which is just regular cadmium red, looks like this. It says cad red. and then Cad Red Dark, or Deep, I guess they call it. So those three paints were the paints that I've used here. So I think let me just do one more thing here. Okay, so I think we're gonna leave it there for now. I'm gonna come back into it. Obviously, I haven't even done the background yet, so all of those edges are gonna have to be redone. That's just something I have to live with when I go ahead and start painting the foreground without painting the background. But I like to get started, especially when I'm doing these paintings on live. It's not very fun just to see the background be painted. Okay, we're gonna go with this one now. It's gonna be cyan, aqua, turquoise, in that kind of area. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna have a look, see what we have. And then this one's gonna be yellows. So we're gonna have kind of red, cyan, yellow, near primaries. This is gonna be a Delft. Basically it's a white pot with some ultramarine blue on it. The table's going to be brown. It's going to be wood with some wood grain, and the background's going to be basically black, like a black brown. The four buds are obviously green. So, okay, cool. Really excited to pull this one out. This is so Michael Harding is one of the best. I would say the best, but I'm only willing to entertain arguments for it being number 2 with somebody who is in support of Old Holland. So it's between Old Holland and Michael Harding, as far as I'm concerned, for brands. They're the only oil paints that don't have any fillers in them. Fillers like calcium carbonate or wax or chalk or talc. These two brands are the only 2 brands that don't have those in them at a professional level. And this is Michael Harding. They just came out with this maybe 2 years ago. It's brand new. I don't use it often because it is transparent, and I tend to go with more of the opaque. But the tint of this Caribbean turquoise, the tint, what I mean by tint is when you add white. That's called tinting a paint. If you don't know that, I have a YouTube video just came out last week that talks about tints and shades and tones and so on. So let me see. Pigments organic, yeah. Contrast high, there you go, transparent. So let's go with that, which is, turquoise. It's kind of in that zone between blue and green. It's neither, it's both. Gonna go Williamsburg because they have they make 2 incredible turquoise colors as well. So Williamsburg, originally Williamsburg obviously was from Williamsburg in Brooklyn, New York, and it was just this kind of scrappy little oil paint company that did these handmade small batch paints, and they got a lot of attention. They're really, really good paint, and maybe it's slightly pricier than Gamblin and not quite as good as let's say Michael Harding or Old Holland, but excellent, really excellent paint. I would put them above Winsor Newton. They ended up being bought out by the famous acrylic paint manufacturer Golden, and Golden's the best. Nothing even comes close to Golden. Tri-Art out of Canada is good, but Golden is still the gold standard for acrylic. Anyway, Golden bought Williamsburg, so they make quite a good paint. But what I like about these ones, is that they divide their cobalt turquoise into these two different colors, which is really great. I don't see that in any other paint manufacturer. You just see the one cobalt turquoise. So, and then for the lights, for the really light ones, I'm going to go with this teal, cobalt teal. So basically, we're going to have, this is going to be our palette. The highlights are going to be cobalt teal, and then we're going to get down, go to greenish, cobalt turquoise greenish, cobalt turquoise bluish, and then finishing up with the Caribbean turquoise, which is quite dark out of the tube. I mean, you can see here. So that's going to be, it's an analogous color palette. We're going to paint the same way we did that rose. Okay, now we have our plan. It's just a matter of putting a small amount out for each of them. Cobalt is a metal, and it's very expensive to mine and to process. So that's why cobalt paint is quite expensive. If you are going to be painting with cobalt, do so sparingly, because it's not something that you want to waste. You have to be you should also know where the cobalt's coming from. A lot of places have cobalt mines. There's a bunch of cobalt mines in Canada, but there's also a lot of cobalt mines in places that exploit their workers. I think the Democratic Republic of the Congo has something like 70% of the world's cobalt mining, and the workers aren't exactly paid a fair wage. So it's something to keep in mind, to know where your cobalt comes from. So let's have a look at the palette as I just laid it out here. So we're going to go, that's the cobalt teal into the cobalt turquoise green shade, cobalt turquoise blue shade, and then ending up with that Michael Harding Caribbean turquoise. Okay, something like this. Thank you. Just noticing that we're just approaching 18,000 likes on the live stream, so just wanted to say thank you very much for that. And yeah, thank you for those of you who've been tapping that screen and sharing. I see a lot of people sharing. Thank you, Captain, Big Brother. Thank you for the rose. Yeah, very much appreciated. All of the support you guys show me, and also the support with the prints, buying prints from my online shop. There's a link in the bio if you're interested in having some of my art on your walls. Here we go. We're going to go with this one. Lots of cobalt teal through cobalt turquoise and Caribbean turquoise. Let's go for it. Again, I'm not using any solvents or anything of that sort. Just going with a little bit of linseed oil. So for the main row, for the red rose here, we have, it's kind of a centralized light. It's not a real strong light source. I mean, slightly from the left. I'll go with that again here. Excuse me, I got the hiccups here. What I want to do is stay very far away from that red. Cobalt and red are not friends. Cobalt teal, I should say. Not friends at all. So have to be very careful. Here, I'll get a little bit closer. Have to be very careful that they don't touch each other. They basically annihilate each other and turn into gray. It's like a matter antimatter. A very pigmented red. Yeah, those are that's cad red, cadmium red light, cadmium red dark. It's cadmium is a wonderful red, and you know, I didn't take it down at all. I didn't take the decrease the chroma by mixing in any cool colors, any complementary colors. Didn't go that way at all. Just kept that red flag flying as much as possible. Now you'll find that cadmium, the metal cadmium, goes into a lot of the warm colors like red, orange, and cadmium yellow. You can even get some cool yellows. Like you can get cadmium yellow lemon, which is a cool yellow. So you can start getting into the cool colors with cadmium. Even I think there's a cadmium green that Gamblin makes even. But generally speaking, cadmium is used with warm colors, and cobalt is used with cool colors. So there's a difference there that you don't necessarily need to pay attention to that difference, but I know there it is anyway. So just gonna come up here with this one. This is for those of you who've seen my paintings before, or indeed even on my website, going into the prints, you'll see that a lot of my compositions are maybe a little more complicated than this. And I wanted to keep the story succinct here. Am I using oil paints? Yeah. This is an oil painting using mostly Gamblin oil paint only Gamblin oil paint for the red one. This one here we're using cobalt teal. Let me see. Was that? Yeah, that was Michael Harding. For the cobalt teal. And then we went Williamsburg for the cobalt turquoise, greenish and bluish shade. And then back to Michael Harding for the Caribbean turquoise, the darkest one. I'm using a number 6 filbert brush here, which is obviously the advantage of being able to paint on the flat, but also when you turn it, it just suddenly turns into a number 2 or even number 0 round brush. So you have the benefit. That's why filberts are so amazingly versatile. How much are these paints? The Michael Harding is a little bit on the pricey side because there are no fillers, so it does last a while. Let me see. It goes by their series. So let me see. So if I just grab this one, for example. So for Michael Harding, it's basically the series. It's 1 to 7. The series times 10 plus 10. So a series 2 is $20 plus 10, $30 for a little tube, which is really expensive until you consider that I've had that tube since 2016. So I've had this tube for 6 years, and I'm here. So let's say I've used 65% of it. So $30 I've used, let's say $18 worth in 6 years. That's $3 a year. That's not that bad, right? So it's like 25 cents a month to have that amazing phthalocyanine blue. That's worth $0.25 every month. Do I use it often? Yeah, I paint every day. I'm a professional painter. I have 3 galleries that I paint for. I paint every day, all day, every day. I make art all day, every day. I don't paint all day, every day. I do paint every day though. But yeah, oil paint lasts way, way longer than acrylic. Way longer. Because you need so little of it. You know, with acrylic, it dries so quickly, and you end up leaving half of your paint on your palette. But for me, you put down such a little amount like that, it lasts. It's going to be wet in a week, and I can still, I can paint just forever. My tube collection, you'll have to go to my YouTube channel for that. That's I show it's part of my intro reel. After I usually speak for maybe 10 seconds or something, and then I cut to the introductory music, and then I show my palette. But I'm not going to, my collection. I'm not going to show it right now because it's not as organized as I would like. But yeah, suffice it to say, I've been building my collection for a while, 6 years or something like that. It's every birthday, Christmas, it's what I ask for. What surface am I painting on? This is a panel. This is a wooden panel. Yeah. What brand's best for people to start out with? Never worked with oil paintings? Well, I have a YouTube video exactly on this topic. So I talk about the difference between student grade and professional grade. And so it really comes down to budget, right? Because if you have the budget, then I would start with professional grade paint. The only reason you would use student grade is if you're saving money, or if you want to use a lot of oil paint. Like some people want to do oil paintings this thick. There's no reason to use professional grade paint for that. You might as well just use student grade paint. But student grade paint has a lot of fillers in it, so that's why it's inexpensive. It has fillers like chalk and talc and calcium carbonate and wax even. It's much, much cheaper. Like, I'll show you one. Like this, for example. That huge, 6.7 US fluid ounces or 200 milliliters. This is $15, but there's not much pigment in it, so it's very transparent. There's a lot of filler in it, but they're getting better. They're much better than they were even 20 years ago, So go check out my YouTube channel. I would say if you're going to start with student grade paints, go with Gamblin 1980 series. Gamblin has a series of cheaper student grade paints called Gamblin 1980. Go with Gamblin 1980 or go with Winsor Newton's student brand called Winton. That's the one I just showed you, Winton. So Winsor Newton is the name of the professional grade one, and their Winton is their student grade. So if you're going student grade, those are my recommendations: Gamblin 1980 series or Winton. If you're going with professional grade straight away, and finances are a concern, then I would say Gamblin is your best paint. It's your best bang for your buck. It's really good quality paint, and it's relatively inexpensive. Let me see, what else can I say? If you are going for, if the financial part isn't a huge concern for you, then I would say go with Michael Harding if you can get it. It's difficult to get. In Canada, they only sell it in 2 places, at Gwartzman's in Toronto, and also at Articulations in Toronto. But if you can't get Michael Harding, go for Old Holland. Both of those are top quality, no fillers, very high pigment load in both of those. I don't want to touch that red, so that's why I'm being extremely cautious here. I'll have to get my small brush at some point. Oh, thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. Where did you say I say you could see my prints? Yeah, just click the link in my bio and click the link tree, or you can just go to markliamsmith.com, which is my website. There's 2 different ways to get there. And then you can, shop prints if you like. The prints range from $25 for the smaller ones. All my prints are the same size as my paintings. So the smallest ones are like 8 inches, 10 inches by 8 inches. And those are $25. And then I'd say 95% of my prints are $25 or $40. And then I have some like poster size prints of my really big paintings. And those are $80, I think. So, a couple of different options there. What are my thoughts on water-soluble oils? Yeah, I haven't tried them. I have a friend who's an oil painter who has tried them, who really likes them. I think it was Winsor Newton that made his set. I really like the idea of being able to mix your water-soluble oils with your acrylics, especially if you started out with acrylics and you have quite a large collection of acrylics. That's really cool. If you put enough slow dry medium in your oils and enough quick dry medium in your oils and slow dry medium in your acrylics, then you can kind of get close to a similar drying time for both of them. So that'd be pretty cool. But if you don't have a large collection in acrylics already, and I probably would advise against the water-soluble stuff, just because if you get oil paints, you can get any company's colors. Like this one, for example, I used Williamsburg because their cobalt turquoise is divided into a green and a blue. They have 2 different colors. I don't have to buy only one brand. Whereas with the water-soluble oils, I don't know how many different companies are making them. So you might be really limited in your selection. But if they have all of the colors that you need, let's say you don't need a wide array of colors, you like mixing a lot of your colors yourself, yeah, why not? I hear that they operate they feel the same. I don't know though. So I hesitate to offer an opinion in that regard. Oh, thanks so much. The Pokemon, yeah. I got so many requests for that, that I thought I have to go for it. Any tips for getting your artwork out there on here? Yeah, for sure. So we, as artists, are living in probably the best time to be an artist is right now. When you think back, even 20 years ago, it was extremely difficult to have your art seen by any sizable number of the public because the galleries were gatekeepers. And if you were starting out and you weren't represented by a gallery, it was extremely difficult to have your art seen by any, hundreds of people or thousands of people. You had to basically get your art into a coffee shop, or maybe you knew somebody. That was kind of your only shot. But now you can put your art on Instagram or TikTok. You can put your art anywhere. You can make NFTs, and you see more and more people making a go of it, making a living, and you can get your art out there by, well, obviously you have a TikTok account. You can do process videos. You can talk about the things that inspire you in your art making. You can, let's say you have an unusual technique, or you found something that really works for you. You can focus your TikTok account on process. And in the meantime, you're getting people that are contacting you and are interested in you because they like what you do, or they like your attitude. A lot of the times people collect your art because they believe in you as a person. They think that you as an artist is something that maybe aligns with their values, or they want to support you in a certain way. So just getting, if you are brave enough to show your face online, then some people aren't extremely comfortable in front of the camera. I certainly wasn't when I started, but I've grown more comfortable. But yeah, I can really relate to people who aren't super comfortable in front of the camera. So, but with art, you don't have to put your face in front of the camera. You can if you show your hand, and talk about your process. Talk about what you like, what's going well. I follow a lot of channels that it's just people drawing. I really, really enjoy watching people make art. Even if it's not the kind of art that I make, I just the creation itself is something that a lot of people like. I certainly like it. Back again. Okay, ignore you because you're being a lunatic. Okay, thank you for saying it's beautiful. Drawing's an escape from the world. sort of release for mental health. Yeah, I get that. Drawing can certainly be a kind of a therapy. You know, and also not just a therapy. It's all, you know, drawing can be a way to practice your patience. It can be a way to practice focus and so on. There are lots of different advantages to people who draw every day. But I can certainly understand that you wouldn't necessarily want to get it out there if you're using it as more of a therapeutic. I think a lot of people do that. Yeah. Hello and goodbye, Maya. Oh, this cobalt teal is coming along. Do I paint every day? Yes, I do paint every day. I love the blue. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I paint every day. It's not just my job. It's also something I love. So yeah, I literally do not take a day off. I don't take Sunday off. I don't take any day off. I paint every day. The blues are striking. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really like these cobalt turquoise. It's quite a nice, especially when you add some white. It's sort of, I think the white activates it in a way. I think it's great how you take time off. I take time out of your day to teach people, draw certain things. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hadn't done much teaching before coming to TikTok, and I basically started TikTok and YouTube around the same time. But yeah, I really enjoy teaching and the feedback, and received a lot of nice sort of heartwarming stories, I guess, of people either starting to draw or getting back into it after leaving it for a number of years. So yeah. It's a little bit too dark here. I'm gonna kind of tame it down a little bit here with this cobalt teal. You're the person I learned to draw, how to draw an eye. Oh, thank you. Thanks for doing that, trying that out. Appreciate that. Enjoy your drawing tutorials. Thank you very much. Heard you mention you're colorblind. How do I navigate painting? Yeah, I'm colorblind. Now, well, I've painted so much now that a lot of what I do now is quite different. But starting out, I would take meticulous notes when I did a mix. I would take notes on the quantity and the colors and so on, so that I could remix that same color. I would take my phone and take photographs of my paintings and then drop it into Photoshop and use the color picker tool that looks like a little eyedropper, and then click on the color and then slide the saturation to its brightest. So because I'm colorblind, but I can see colors very well when they're highly saturated. It's the nuanced colors that all look brown and gray and green to me. But the color picker tool, I can click on a color and it shows me the graphic, it shows me what the name of the color is. So I would do that. I would ask my partner. So yeah, lots of different ways to kind of get around it, but mostly it was notes, taking notes. Obviously color theory, learning a lot of color theory, because I'm the one squeezing the tubes. I see the names of the colors, so I know exactly how to mix a chromatic black, what colors, what proportions, and so it's just a lot of that as well. But yeah, there are ways around it. And there are a lot of colorblind people out there. Something like 10 or 12% of us, right? Thank you so much for the shares and the Frankie. Thanks for the finger hearts. Really like your content. Let me see. This one goes to there. Maybe I'll go here for now. What is that? Yeah, it's going to be 3 roses and 4 rose buds, and a vase on a table. This is an oil painting that is going to be auctioned off for charity at the Bank of Montreal Kids Help Phone auction in April of this year. And I think the auction is in Toronto, but it's going to be online. It might be in Montreal, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, it's going to be auctioned off for charity. And I'm donating 100% of the proceeds of this painting. Last year, on the same charity, I participated in the same charity, so I think it's really important to not just give back to the community, but also to such a worthy charity. It's people trying to help children in crisis. It's hard to think about something that would be more worthy than that. I think people can kind of universally get behind that as an idea, helping children in need. I have lots of time to finish this. I have to have this to the charity by mid or late February, so they can do the media. But yeah, lots of time to finish this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody would be buying it. They get a piece of art for the same price or even cheaper than they could get from the gallery if they bought it from one of the galleries that represents me, and then they also are helping a charity. Do I work out? Yeah, I do. I work out 6 days a week. It's really important to maintain physical health, I think, for me. Well, it's something that I would like to have prioritized more in my 20s, but yeah, I do. Physical health and mental health are, I think, tied together a lot more than people realize. that wonderful Caribbean turquoise here. Do I dance? I do. I do dance a lot. I have a 3-year-old, so I have dance parties with my partner. I mean, she usually leads it, to be fair, but I'm happy to participate. So I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth between this cobalt teal and cobalt turquoise, which is, I have the 2 shades here. I have the cobalt turquoise bluish and the cobalt turquoise greenish shade. So I'm just going to pull some of that white in and create this tint. Tinting is a verb. When you tint a color, that means you add white to it. It's just a fancy way of saying adding white. And toning a color is adding gray, and shading a color is adding black. My favorite art that I did, my favorite painting. Probably my favorite painting that I've done is a painting of my wife holding my son. But my favorite painting that I've exhibited in a gallery is the largest painting in my current show. It's called A Song of Sixpence, and you can check it out on my website if you just click the link. I have made prints available of it. It's basically a table full of stuff, like oysters and lobsters and ham and glass and books and a globe and skulls. Just you name it is on that table, and it's just this picture of opulence and decadence. It's kind of a commentary on a 17th century extravagance, and it's called A Song of Sixpence, and you can check it out either. Well, it's currently being exhibited in Montreal, but if you wanted to look at it online, you can just go to my website. No, this is oil paint. Wish you was here from the beginning. Oh, well, thank you. I do try to paint lives every Friday, so yeah, please do check back. I don't know, does TikTok have notifications? I'm not even sure, but if they have notifications. Yeah, I like this turquoise. It's really cool. I mean, you definitely have to say that's not blue and it's not green. It's its own color. If you guys are interested at all in color theory, and how I'm doing these analogous color palettes and so on, please do check it out. I have my last video on YouTube that I put out is exactly about hue, which is what I'm dealing with here. So I talk about this color wheel like this that I've developed, this 12-point color wheel with I'll just show you: yellow, orange, red, rose, magenta, violet, indigo, blue, aqua, cyan, green, and lime. So I have this color wheel that's kind of a combination of a couple of different color wheels, and I've found that with using this method, I'm able to keep the chroma, or the how vibrant the colors are. I'm able to keep the chroma extraordinarily high, So you get these really rich, vibrant colors. Yeah, so if you're interested at all, please do check that out. It's called the video is called Color Basics Hue. So and that just came out. I think last week I published that one, and then the next one is Value, and then the one after that is going to be Chroma. And those are kind of the 3 dimensions of color. Yeah, so Fridays I start at 6 Eastern time. That's -5 UTC, and so I go from 6 till 9. It's kind of it's been working probably the best. 6 to 9 Eastern time. A 3-hour session is kind of enough to get all of you guys' questions answered. And I answer questions about the art world and being an artist, color blindness, any kind of art related thing I think is fair, and I try to speak from experience if I have it, and if I don't have experience in a certain area, I'm more than happy to say that I don't. So I try to give it to you, fairly straight. So yeah, 3 hours I think is usually plenty of time for you guys to ask all the questions about art that you need to ask. Do I always use the grid method? Yes. Yeah, I do. And that's because I make my compositions on Photoshop, and I balance them out. Like you see the composition here. It's very considered. So in terms of the balance, the movement, and primary contour, secondary contour, implied lines, all of the kinds of things that you need to think about when you're composing an image. I do all of that on Photoshop and then draw it out using this grid method. And what I've found is by doing it that way, when I get to this stage, the painting stage, I only have to worry about painting. I don't have to worry about trying to balance the elements. The elements are already balanced. I know that because I've seen it. I've seen the Photoshop document that I made. So I don't have to worry about trying to balance elements and adding a flower here or there. My mind is completely free to focus on color. And, and since I'm doing TikTok lives, I'm talking as well as painting. So I already have a couple of different things to talk about or to think about. So I don't want to add anything else in terms of trying to consider where to, how to compose an image. Yeah, that's just taken care of. That's just done already. This is stunning. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just to cover all the U.S. time zones. Yeah, so I'm in Canada. So we have Newfoundland, and then it goes to Atlantic, and then it goes to Eastern time. This is where I am right now. I'm in Toronto, Canada. That's Eastern time. And then Central, Mountain, and Pacific, you're right. Do I do animals? Yeah, I do. My last painting show that's up right now in Montreal, I have birds, and I have a snake in there, and I also have a mongoose. And then I have a lot of aquatic animals, lobster and clams and oysters and so on. So, yes. You're in Wisconsin? Yeah. Yeah, so it's just on the other side of the Great Lakes. We're closest to where I am. We're closest to, I guess, Niagara Falls that's New York, right? It's probably the closest American city, Buffalo or Niagara, I'm not sure. Windsor and Detroit is probably 4 hours away. I don't know. Yeah, lots and lots of cities in this area. Draw Star Wars. Yeah, I can draw Star Wars. I don't know how appropriate it would be to put a big stormtrooper helmet right in the middle of this bouquet. But yeah, maybe that would have to be on a different day. How many hours start to finish with typical painting? A painting this size typically takes 1.5 to 3 weeks. And that's how many hours? I don't know, between 5 and 8 hours per day. And the longest I've ever taken for a painting was 4 months. And that was painting 7 days a week. That painting was huge though. It was 5 feet wide and 4 feet tall, and it was full of stuff. Oh, thank you. How do you get into art shows? Yeah, good question. Bro, where do you live? I live just outside Toronto. Yeah, how do you get into art shows? So you basically have to build up your exhibition history. And you do that by starting with, depends where you want to start. You can start with coffee shops. You can start with, depends on how big maybe you live in a small town and you know the librarian, and you can get a couple of pieces up in your local library, that kind of thing. You can start to get it up somewhere that in the public. Coffee shop is usually a good spot. And then from those are your first shows, and then you can go to a website called Akimbo, Akimbo. Akimbo has a bunch of what are called open calls, and the open call is when a gallery has an open call. Basically what they do is they pick a theme. Let's say flowers is a theme, or springtime, or anything. Galleries pick different themes, and then they say, okay, we're going to have a group show, and it's going to be 30 spots. here's the theme, it's flowers, and it's going to be $20 to apply. And so the galleries do this to make money, because if they get 1,000 people each paying $20, they've just made $20,000, and all they have to do is have a group show, and then they still get 50% as well. So galleries like to do, some galleries are very busy and they don't do any of those, but other galleries do that to make a little bit of money. So you can go to Akimbo and you can look at all of the different galleries that are doing open calls right now. And to do an open call, you don't need to have an exhibition history. This is the really important thing, because like the whole idea is like, okay, you need an exhibition history to show in galleries, but you can't show in galleries unless you have an exhibition history. It's a catch-22. But the open calls is the way to get around that. So what you do is you apply to some open calls, and if you're painting or drawing, whatever you're printmaking, photography, whatever you're doing, sculpture, ceramics, textiles, whatever you're doing is good enough, and you get a spot in one of these shows, then you're off to the races. You now have an art piece in an art gallery, and some of these art galleries are legit. So think about it like it's a competition. So that's how you can kind of do it. That's how my art career kind of started that way. I won a portrait competition like that, and I got a portrait shown in New York Gallery, and then from that I went to Basel, Switzerland, because of that New York Gallery show, and then from that I got represented by a gallery in Toronto, and so on. And so everything kind of happens, it just sort of builds on top of each other. But it has to start somewhere. And so but you could try that, Akimbo. Give that a shot. See what open calls they have. And then you can start competing. I always forget how much I like turquoise until I pull it out and paint with it. It's kind of velvety, and really, really enjoy painting with turquoise, both the bluish and the greenish shade. So I'm using a number 6 filbert brush right now. And I haven't switched brushes yet. So all of the details, the big and the small, it's all been the same number 6 filbert. A filbert brush, by the way, it's like a flat brush, except it's rounded on the tops. In this direction, it looks like a flat, and from this direction, it looks like a round brush. So you have that versatility. You can use the broad of it, or you can use to make small lines. It's a really great option if you don't want to have a whole bunch of brushes. So this is number 6, which is also a really nice kind of middle size. You can get, like I said, you can get pretty decent lines with a number 6, but it's also big enough that you can get some decent coverage too. So how do I prep my panel? I use black gesso, 1 coat of black gesso, and then and that's it. Let it dry, and then I use a gray or a white colored pencil to draw my image out. And yeah, that's it. You don't really like painting? Well, you're in the wrong live then. That's a great thing about TikTok, is that there are a lot of different things to check out. And this one has come together fairly quickly. You know, I still have the center of this turquoise rose to go, but the outer petals anyway. How do you blend colors? Yeah, you just have a oh, thank you so much for the target. It's amazing. Yeah, how do you blend colors? Well, you have your kind of a range, an analogous color palette. So you have light, then middle, and then dark colors, and then just kind of think about them like it's a continuum or a spectrum. So you have these points all the way across, and then so number 1 and number 2 make all your 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, all those colors, and then between 2 and 3 you have all of those. So just kind of think about it like that. How do you send the target? Yeah, that was really cool. Thank you so much, lols2121. Yeah, this is oil paint. Yeah. Is TikTok my job? No, I'm from Canada, so we are not part of the Creator Fund. TikTok is pastime. It's all voluntary. I don't get paid. My job is painting. I'm a painter. I sell my paintings in galleries. How long will I wait before I varnish the painting? Yeah, I usually wait a couple of weeks after the whole thing's painted, obviously. Yeah. It's really important to varnish the painting because it does a number of different things. Number one, when you varnish the painting, it protects the painting from particulates in the air, like dust. Number two, it brings an even sheen to the whole painting. Different pigments like cadmium or cobalt or lapis or chromium oxide, so on. Different pigments have different sheen, different levels of shininess, and how much linseed oil or solvent, terpenoids you use. There's different levels of shininess, but when you varnish it, the whole thing has an even sheen. But thirdly, and most importantly, every color has a wet and a dry version to it. So when you look at a color, you see, right from the tube, when you look at a color, that's the wet version of that color. And it's the wet version that's on your palette, and it's the wet version that you paint. But after a while, the painting dries, and then the colors change slightly. And that's a problem if you spend a lot of time trying to create color harmonies and color balance. You don't want the colors to change to the dry color because you painted them when they were their wet color. And, supposedly you worked very hard to get them those exact colors. So when you varnish, it returns the whole painting to the original wet colors. And that's why when you see those amazing videos of people varnishing their paintings and then suddenly the paintings just come alive, it's like, yeah, no doubt. That's because those are what the paintings looked like when the artist painted them. That's what those are the colors the artist saw. Those are colors the artist chose. So that's why you want to varnish your work. Can you see my palette? Yes. Yeah. Cobalt teal, cobalt turquoise green shade, cobalt turquoise blue shade, Caribbean turquoise, that's the current rose. And the previous one was cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, cadmium red dark, that's magenta, black, and white. And that's linseed oil. What kind of varnish do I use? Oh, I just use regular varnish. I think it's, I don't even know. Is it Gamvar? No, I'm not saying that right. Maybe it's Liquitex. Yeah, I just use regular semi-gloss varnish. Nothing special. I'm not really, I shouldn't give any advice about varnishing. I'm not really that knowledgeable on it. I mean, the 3 points that I just said, that's about the why of varnish, not necessarily the how. I've only recently been varnishing my paintings, sort of the last 2 shows or so. I should take this time to plug my prints. If you guys are interested in picking up any of my artwork, yeah, please do go to markliamsmith.com and have a look anyway, even if you don't end up getting something. I really appreciate this. Those of you who have bought some prints and are supporting me and my and my art. I have prints available there for starting at $25. So if you feel inclined, please do check out my store, markliamsmith.com. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish probably in a week and a half, something like that. So I think you're safe to go to bed, Arthur. Thank you, Lexi. Oh, the stream. Yeah, the stream's done. The stream is done now, 9 o'clock. I just do 3 hours because I have other things tonight planned already. But thank you so much, Lols2121. That's very much appreciated for the gift and the nice comments. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks for the hand hearts. How do I know your name, Arthur? It's in your username. I did some real sleuthing there. Detective work at its finest. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for spending part of your Friday night / Saturday morning with me, wherever it is in the world. I know it's already tomorrow in the Philippines and on that side of the world. I really do appreciate you spending time and asking questions about art and developing your own practice and all of the benefits. And thank you for following on my main channel. And for those of you who are subscribing to my YouTube channel and learning how to paint, please do let me know how it's going in my comments. I am interested. So that's going to be it for this live stream. Thank you all very much. I'll be back probably next week during the week, but definitely this same time next week, Friday night, 6 to 9 Eastern time. That's -5 UTC for those of you not familiar with North American time. That's going to be it for me. I am Mark Liam Smith, and this has been my pleasure as always. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.